Welcome back to Otaku Daikun. Daichan here, and you're watching The Waifu Files, a series where we discover and celebrate various anime and games by shining a spotlight on their lovely ladies. In this episode, we'll be covering the waifu from Persona 5, including additions made to Royal and Strikers. This will not include characters from the Phantom X, Tactica, or any other spin-off. In terms of graphics, story, and mechanics, this is definitely my favorite entry in the Persona series, and I'm hyped to share it with you. Before we get started, though, I've just got one small piece of business to take care of first. Forgive me, viewers, for I have sinned. When making my Persona 4 waifu files, I accidentally left out one character. Allow me to rectify that here. Yumi Ozawa, who barely shows up in the background for P4's anime, is the second of two candidates for the original game's Sun Arcana. You can choose her over the band geek, Ayane Matsunaga, by joining the drama club. Yumi lives at home with her single mom. Her dad decided to cheat, resulting in them getting divorced, but now he's suddenly come back because he's terribly ill. Yumi has a hard time with this, despising her father's infidelity, while also missing how they used to be a family together. To avoid confronting these feelings, Yumi pours herself into the drama club, taking it so seriously that she intimidates and conflicts with her classmates. When her father passes on, she loses interest in the school's play, and only by hanging out with Yu Narukami does she find resolve for the future. Yumi ultimately quits the drama club to support her mother by working at Junes and being more amicable to those around her. I've personally never liked her design, which is probably why I forgot about her. Regardless, I hate leaving waifu behind, so I appreciate you giving me the time to catch up. With that, let's move on to the main event, featuring 26 new waifu. Persona 5 tells the story of Ren Amamiya, a cool dude who chose to intervene when a woman was being harassed on the street by a wealthy douchebag. Ren was unaware that this turd in a suit, Masayoshi Shido, was an influential politician and that he would use his status to turn the tables. Unfairly, Ren was brought to court on false assault charges and sentenced to a 1-year probation. He spends this year living with an acquaintance of his parents, Sojiro Sakura, at the Café LeBlanc in Tokyo. Initially, everyone treats Ren like a criminal delinquent, but this starts to change when he discovers he can enter the metaverse, an alternate reality where people's cognitive fantasies come to life. Upon awakening to his persona, he takes it upon himself to use the metaverse in bringing criminals to justice. Ren's crew of allies, the Phantom Thieves of Hearts, are able to force a change of heart in their targets, effectively making criminals confess and seek repentance. It's a tale of vigilante justice from rebellious students aiming to expose corrupt adults in their society. Ren Amamiya attends Shujin Academy, where he meets his classmate, An Takamaki. Her ethnicity is mixed, both Japanese and American, and is the child of two prolific fashion designers. They put on shows all over the world, meaning that An used to move from country to country as a child. Now, she lives in Japan while her parents work, staying instead with live-in caretakers. An's best friend at school is Shiho Suzui, a classmate who plays on the girls' volleyball team. Unfortunately, the team's coach, Suguru Kamoshida, is a disgusting playboy who abuses his students. He demands inappropriate favors from the girls just so they can get time on the court. Despite rumors of this spreading across staff and parents, they all turn a blind eye due to the school's athletic achievements. Kamoshida takes a special interest in An and uses Shiho as bait to lure her in. Unless An cozies up to him, he threatens to remove Shiho from the team. The bastard's delusions of grandeur manifest in the metaverse as a palace, where the school is his castle, and he's a greedy king who hoards his female students. To take him down, An joins the Phantom Thieves and awakens to her persona, Carmen. At first, she's surprised to learn that her rebellious alter ego, Panther, wears a tight leather bodysuit, but by embracing it, she and her team defeat Kamoshida's shadow and steal his most prized treasure. As a result, the lech breaks down in front of the school, confessing to his harassment and abuse. Going forward, An realizes she can continue exposing corruption with her newfound friends. Since she's such a beautiful woman, there are things she can accomplish that her male thieves cannot, such as infiltrating the workshop of artist Ichiryu-sai Madarame. Given her parents' line of work, it's not surprising that An works as an up-and-coming fashion model. In doing so, she takes command of her sexuality, viewing it as a source of confidence rather than shame. She encounters a rival, Mika, who resorts to dirty tricks to upstage her. Despite being a victim to Mika's schemes, An can't help but admire her dedication. With a stoic attitude, An overcomes Mika's deception, establishing herself as a genuine opponent in the industry. This, in turn, prompts Mika to compete with An fair and square. What I love about An as a character is how she never lets Kamoshida's lechery ruin what should otherwise be her healthy expression of sexuality. Her fashion sense, her flirtatiousness, instead of being ashamed of them, she turns them into a source of strength. She's a certified favorite, and my personal favorite among the girls in this game. Confidence is sexy, but even without that, I appreciate how An strives to be strong enough to face her friends and better the world as a phantom thief. Oh, and I just have to say it. Spare coochie, Lady An? Most of An's determination comes from wanting to do right by her friend Shiho. The two girls met as outcasts when Shiho jokingly insulted An's painting during art class. She doesn't smile much, but her friendship with An enables her to shine brightly. Too bad Kamoshida's always there to ruin it. He harasses her on and off the court. When not intentionally spiking volleyballs at her face, he makes lecherous advances on her. For a time, An shields her from this, bearing the brunt of Kamoshida's attention. However, when it's clear that An won't give in to his demands, he takes his anger out on Shiho. No longer able to take this torment, she leaps from Shujin Academy's roof. The fall puts her in a coma, prompting An to take immediate action against their corrupt teacher. Eventually, Shiho wakes up from her coma, and while she's happy to see An again, they're only together for a short while. Hoping to distance her from the tragedy, Shiho's mom transfers her to a new school. Even so, in that brief time, Shiho bravely endures her physical therapy and overcomes her past fears. She can't undo the past, but she can pave the way toward a redeemable future. Shujin Academy's student council president is Makoto Nijima. She's a model student with phenomenal grades and strict policies. Kamoshida's harassment scandal, however, leads her classmates to condemn her for not putting a stop to it. She bears the weight of their criticism, when in truth, she has no real authority. Makoto's just a pawn for the school's corrupt principal, who threatens to endanger her college prospects for meddling too much. As a result, the poor girl is repressed, feeling the need to keep her head down and obey her seniors. Enforcing this behavior is the renowned success of her sister Sae, who expects her to excel as an honor student in exchange for raising her. The two sisters used to live with their father, who was a police officer. After he was killed by a truck, though, Sae's had to raise Makoto while putting food on the table for them. To a small extent, Makoto feels resentment toward her father. In pursuit of justice, of doing the right thing, he got himself killed, effectively abandoning his family. She found this irresponsible, given how she's learned to tolerate injustice in order to survive. Certainly, Makoto doesn't want to be a burden on her sister. Ultimately, though, she's yearning for the chance to break free from those chains, to cast away her identity as a goody-two-shoes honor student in favor of actually helping her fellow classmates. The Phantom Thieves provide her an outlet as she demands they reform a twisted mafia boss named Junya Kaneshiro, who's been extorting Shujin students. Refusing to simply rely on them, she even infiltrates Kaneshiro's hideout as a hostage, risking the life of underground prostitution to give the Phantom Thieves access to his palace. To protect herself and Sae, Makoto awakens to her persona, Johanna, and joins the thieves under the alias Queen. Together, they force a change of heart in Kaneshiro. No longer subservient, Makoto strives to witness society's darker side, to understand the world around her without bias. She does so in order to honor her father's legacy and eventually become a police commissioner. While there are some who deem the Phantom Thieves criminals, she sees being one as a chance to resolve corruption within the justice system she aims to serve. I love how Makoto becomes a badass biker babe. Given she was the first girl I ever romanced in this game, I'd say she's also a certified favorite. I also love how, if your grades are good enough, she'll let you in the back door, if you catch my drift. Makoto's sister, Sae Nijima, really struggled after the death of their father. To make a living, she became a public prosecutor of the Tokyo District Special Investigation Department. In that position, Sae spends a significant portion of the story listening to Ren Amamiya's testimony on the Phantom Thieves. The stress of being overworked has her lash out at Makoto, pushing that frustration on her sister in the form of lofty expectations. Sae is pessimistic about her own legal system, viewing justice as a meaningless ideal. Instead, what starts to matter to her most is success, or moving up in the system. To that end, she unfairly rigs trials to improve her own reputation. Her pursuit of the Phantom Thieves, then, is hypocritical. She becomes the very kind of corrupt villain the Phantom Thieves target, subconsciously forming her own palace in the metaverse. Within, Sae promotes a contradictory system of fairness and strict rules, while also claiming she can skew those rules in her favor. Normally, the thieves steal their target's treasure, their most prized possession, but Sae proves to be more reasonable. They change her mind without the need to steal her treasure, and upon believing Ren during interrogation, Sae agrees to help the Phantom Thieves weed out further corruption. She's a decent woman at heart who really struggles from the heavy responsibilities placed on her. It really doesn't help that her boss was in on the corruption, but thankfully, she becomes a valuable and sexy ally in the end. Prior to the main story, a researcher named Wakaba Ishiki was studying cognitive science and the existence of the metaverse. Alongside this, she raised her daughter Futaba out of wedlock. This put a strain on their relationship, as Wakaba couldn't simply abandon her research for the sake of, say, a vacation. This was important work that could benefit all of humankind. She was ready to die for this research, and unfortunately, that's exactly what happened. Those who wanted to use the metaverse for their own misdeeds, a group known as the Anti-Social Force, had Wakaba assassinated. They utilized a process in the metaverse that would force victims to suffer from a mental breakdown. This allowed them to present her death as an act of self-termination. At the funeral, poor Futaba was convinced her mom never loved her and regretted giving birth to her. The opposite is true, but only Wakaba's colleague Sojiro knows the truth. Futaba now has the wrong impression of her mother, and she appears in Futaba's palace as an angry sphinx. Only after defeating it can Futaba rekindle the truth of her past, vindicating her mother's love and brilliance. After Wakaba's death, Futaba was adopted by Sojiro, taking on the name Futaba Sakura. While he was the ideal guardian for her, she only wound up in his care after various family members passed her around, such as her greedy Uncle Yoji, who often denied her food, bathing, and a proper bed. Futaba was also bullied at school for being more intelligent than her classmates. These factors, combined with the delusion that she drove her mom to leap into traffic, caused Futaba to suffer from severe mental trauma. Plagued by social anxiety, she began to isolate herself in her room at Sojiro's house. This did nothing to solve her problems, as she began hallucinating her mom's disappointed face. Futaba's only solace was her computer, which she used to escape reality under the alias Medjed. Teaching herself to become a talented hacker, she hid from the world and presented as a hacker of justice. Others would take on the Medjed name, and rather than confront her imposters, she instead changed her online name to Alibaba. Using surveillance gear meant to keep tabs on Sojiro, Futaba accidentally discovers who the Phantom Thieves are and takes great interest in them. When a cohort of Masayoshi Shido uses the moniker Medjed to threaten the Phantom Thieves, Futaba reaches out to them, offering to help if they agree to change her heart. Sure enough, her suppressed guilt had developed into a metaverse palace, an Egyptian tomb where she wants to be put to rest. Within this palace, the Phantom Thieves urge Futaba to confront her own shadow, as well as her guilt, in order to remember how much love she and her mom had for each other. Years ago, she noticed her mom's death being bizarre and uncharacteristic, but buried suspicions of foul play beneath layers of trauma. With newfound resolve, she becomes the Phantom Thieves' navigator, Oracle, working to discover the metaverse and its dangerous applications. Outside the metaverse, she reluctantly strives to gain control of her social life and reintegrate with society. This involves rekindling her relationship with Kana, her only friend from when she went to school. Back then, Futaba accidentally stumbled upon the fact that Kana was being abused by her parents, forced to dress in strange clothing for photographs. Being a child, Futaba didn't know how to handle this, and just accepted it when Kana stopped talking to her. As a phantom thief, however, Futaba is able to stop that abuse, forcing a change of heart in Kana's parents. This heroic act is a testament to how far Futaba has come in reclaiming and even surpassing the life she used to have. Her shyness is adorable, and her bravery is admirable. I also love her sense of style and quirky personality, making her yet another certified favorite. Going down her romance route in one of my playthroughs was an absolute delight. The final girl in the Phantom Thieves is Haru Okumura, daughter of Kunizaku Okumura, the CEO of a massive food company and chain of popular restaurants, Big Bang Burger. When she was a child, Haru had a great relationship with her father. It was clear that he cared for her dearly. Years of capitalistic pressure and greed, however, have turned Kunizaku into an abusive boss who exploits and overworks his employees. He then forces Haru into an arranged marriage with a wretched man named Sugimura, solely to enhance his status within the anti-social force. This comes to a head when it's discovered that Okumura Foods is being investigated for conveniently benefiting from various psychotic breakdowns. Refusing to watch as her life crumbles around her, Haru meets Morgana of the Phantom Thieves and travels with him to the metaverse. There, she investigates her father's palace, confirming the harsh truth of his company's exploitative practices. Even worse, she encounters Sugimura's cognitive form, who all but confirms he's a disgusting piece of trash who plans on treating Haru like a plaything rather than a wife. By standing up to this shadow, Haru awakens to her persona and joins the Phantom Thieves under the codename Noir. They reach the end of Kunizaku's palace, and even convince him to make amends. After escaping the palace with his treasure, the thieves consider their heist a success. They remain unaware that an agent of the antisocial force went in and killed his cognitive form, causing him in real life to break down during a press conference. Haru's dad dies, right before revealing his conspirators. In the wake of her father's death, Haru deals with Okumura Foods and its executives. She wants to contribute to the company and has to contend with business partners who doubt her abilities. She steps up to prove her worth, introducing new ideas and policies, while also revealing her arranged marriage isn't legally binding. Her approach is to return to tradition. For instance, she wants to make coffee like the kind her grandfather used to brew for her. She has a passion for gardening, which she hopes will lead the company to a brighter future. Juggling this with being a phantom thief is hella impressive. Honestly, her design isn't my favorite, and given how late into the story she's introduced, she never feels as important as other party members. That's just me, though. Debating Persona waifu is a bit of a series pastime, after all. Persona 5's Velvet Room gals are Caroline and Justine, but to better understand them, we first have to talk about their original form as Lavenza. And yes, I'm counting all three of them as separate waifu. Just like Elizabeth and Margaret before her, Lavenza served as one of Igor's assistants, an attendant of the Velvet Room who helps guide guests and maintain the Persona Compendium. The whole system gets compromised, however, when the main villain, Yaldabaoth, aka the Holy Grail, takes over and impersonates Igor. In this capacity, Igor only pretends to aid the protagonist, while secretly plotting his demise. Wanting to seem legit without revealing his true identity, Yaldabaoth took Lavenza and tore her soul in two, resulting in Caroline and Justine. Rather than humble, polite attendants, These cruel girls serve as correctional officers, constantly berating Ren throughout the story. They have no clue that their Igor is a fake and are deceived into believing Ren is a degenerate criminal. Luckily, a small piece of Lavenza's consciousness evaded Yaldabaoth. It appears as a butterfly, secretly aiding Ren and eventually leading him to the truth. With its deception exposed, Yaldabaoth pieces out, allowing Lavenza to return properly. Most of the game is still spent with the twins, and just like the other Velvet Room attendants, Ren can forge a social link with them. At each step, the twins reveal embarrassing secrets about each other, but the main secret they hide is how they actually care for Ren. Lavenza even confesses her love to him. I feel that Lavenza is very pretty, perhaps the most appealing attendant in the series. The twins, however, are a bit unhinged, unless you're into being verbally abused by domineering lollies. Next, let's look at Persona 5's other social links, or confidants. Hifumi Togo is a shogi player who can be found practicing by herself at a church in Kanda. She attends Kosei High School and holds the championship title in the Female Shogi League. Her father was a professional player, and she aspires to be just like him. While it seems like an inevitability, given her winning streak, Hifumi's confidence is shattered when she learns that her mother, Mitsuyo, has been paying to fix her matches. Mitsuyo wants to vicariously bask in her daughter's fame, even if it's built upon bribery. When Hifumi finds she can't confront her mother on her own, the Phantom Thieves step in and force Mitsuyo to have a change of heart. With her games no longer being rigged, Hifumi loses her first professional match, but is glad she can finally compete purely on skill. She looks forward to winning fair and square. As a confidant, she trains Ren in strategies that help out during combat. She was originally planned to be another member of the Phantom Thieves, but had her role in the main story repurposed into Makoto's. At first, I was fairly indifferent to this decision, but then I saw this amazing animation. If this were in the game, I would have dated her. Do you wish she were made into a playable character? The fortune confidant is Chihaya Mifune, who is, quite fittingly, a fortune teller you can find over in Shinjuku. Her fortunes may be accurate, but unfortunately, she also works with an organization of scammers known as the ADP. This has her prophesizing ill omens for her clients, claiming the future can only be changed if they purchase holy stones that she sells. The stones are snake oil, or in this case, literal rock salt. Chihaya wasn't always like this. As a child, she grew up in a remote village where the people feared her clairvoyance. She would often predict disasters, leading the villagers to call her a monster. Chihaya fled to Tokyo, only to be roped into the ADP by its chairman, Fukurai. While she knows these holy stones are totally bogus, she latched on to the idea that they give people hope. It helps her feel like a savior, rather than the monster people used to call her. Jaded to the concept of actually averting a bad fortune through earnest effort, she is surprised when Ren Amamiya calls her out on her scam. By exploring the Mentos, the Phantom Thieves are able to improve the lives of Chihaya's clients. This brings genuine hope to her fortune-telling, such that she no longer needs to follow the ADP, truly freeing her from being manipulated. Not only is Chihaya cute, but she's also the most useful confidant in the game, as her fortunes really speed up your progress through social links. The Death Confidant is, ironically, a back-alley doctor named Tae Takemi. Her specialty is in designing new and innovative medicines. She hopes her work will be able to cure rare conditions, specifically one called Crawford Endes, but to do it right, she needs plenty of time to experiment. Takemi used to work for a major hospital in East Shinjuku, but was fired from her position when a peer in the field misused her drug in its testing phase. Oyamada, the hospital's chief of staff, was jealous of Takemi's innovations and foolishly rushed the treatment of her patient Miwa. Because of this, Miwa wound up in a critical condition, and Oyamada pushed the blame onto Takemi. Since then, she operates her own clinic in Yoginjaya. In the cognitive world, medicines take the form of healing items, and so Ren visits her clinic hoping to stock up on supplies. He claims he needs pills to deal with the stress from exams, and while Takumi sees right through his farce, she offers to hook him up in exchange for being a guinea pig for her experiments. In this way, she uses Ren to perfect her drugs, which prove effective on her other patients. Eventually, the Phantom Thieves force Oyamada into a change of heart, and he reveals that her patient Miwa is still alive at a different hospital. When her drug works, she's offered a job at the new hospital, and she accepts so long as she can carry over her existing patients. Overall, she's like the Dark Knight of pharmaceuticals. She only seems sketchy because traditional means already failed her. Takumi's dedication toward helping people is as genuine as ever, plus she's smoking hot. Who wouldn't want an edgy punk rock dog? Moving right along, Persona 5's devil confidant is Ichiko Oya, a freelance journalist who specializes in clickbait articles. Truthfully, she wants to write more legitimate content, but is burned out from having her work censored for exposing the darker side of society. A previous article of hers covered a scandal from Masayoshi Shido's company, and instead of publishing the truth, her agency reassigned her to writing entertainment pieces. Thus, Ichiko spends most of her free time wallowing in cynicism at the Crossroads bar in Shinjuku. She's actually lucky that's all that became of her. Ichiko's partner, Kaio Murakami, also dug into Shido's corruption, but wound up disappearing in the process. Ren and the Phantom Thieves change her boss's heart, allowing Ichiko to reunite with Kaio. Unfortunately, by the time they do, it's too late, as Kaio suffers from a mental shutdown. The antisocial force sabotaged her to cover their asses. Regardless, this reignites Ichiko's fire for honest journalism, and she refuses to let the powers that be continue to censor the truth. In that regard, she's pretty cool, even though I'm not a huge fan of her design. Sadayo Kawakami, the Temperance confidant, is an unkempt, unenthusiastic Japanese language teacher working at Shujin Academy. Some of her students accidentally discover her dark secret, that she moonlights as a call girl. Dressed as a French maid, she'll visit her clients' homes under the stage name Becky to cook, clean, and provide other services. Because of her age, she's not the most popular maid at the company, Victoria, but she sticks with this degrading job because she needs the money. At a previous school, Kawakami taught a struggling student named Taiki Takase. He lost both his parents, and to support himself, he worked 3 different part-time jobs. Due to his poor grades, the school's principal wanted Kawakami to get him to transfer somewhere else, but instead, she hoped to inspire Taiki, personally tutoring him for a time. Sure enough, he started to take his studies more seriously, until one day, he was killed in a car accident. Taiki's relatives blame his death on exhaustion from studying and working at the same time. Targeting Kawakami as the cause, these relatives threaten to sue her, and to remain a teacher, she pays them hush money. Ren Amamiya and his friends curiously hire a maid from Victoria, causing him to learn about Kawakami's second job. Even though he's her student, Ren continues to hire her at night, and when he discovers her dire circumstances, the Phantom Thieves set out to change the hearts of Taiki's relatives. Freed from extortion, Kawakami regains her confidence as a teacher. Personally, I'm not into French maids or her Becky personality, but there's no denying that Kawakami is a fan-favorite waifu. The anime really ramps up on her appeal as well. She's a lot hotter when she's not putting on an act. That does it for the Persona 5 base game. Next, let's look into some of the new characters introduced in Persona 5 Royal. The expansion's main edition is Kasumi Yoshizawa, but there's a bit of a catch. 2 sisters, Sumire and Kasumi, both practiced gymnastics since childhood. Even though Kasumi, the older sister, showed more talent for the sport, she nonetheless promised Sumire that the 2 of them would compete internationally as a duo. Even so, Sumire developed an inferiority complex, as not only was Kasumi better at gymnastics, but also pretty much everything else. Years of self-loathing left Sumire feeling suicidal, like she either had to become Kasumi or was otherwise worthless. As fate would have it, the opposite plays out. When Sumire threw herself into oncoming traffic, Kasumi pulled her out of the way and got killed in the process. Naturally, this only made Sumire even more depressed. To address her mental health, Sumire met with royal surprise antagonist Takuto Maruki for therapy. Hoping to save her, Maruki altered Sumire's cognition, causing her to believe that she was Kasumi and that the one who died was Sumire. This allowed her to keep living in delusional confidence. Thus, the girl you encounter in the story is actually the younger sister Sumire, but she introduces herself as Kasumi, unable to acknowledge the truth. While Sumire used to be more quiet and reserved, she's both cheerful and extroverted thanks to appropriating her sister. As the Faith confidant, she meets Ren and teaches him basic gymnastics moves. After accidentally encountering a palace in the metaverse, she awakens to her persona, but refuses to join the Phantom Thieves. Nonetheless, she helps them out from time to time. At the end of the game, within Dr. Maruki's altered reality, Sumire's delusion is torn down, exposing her true identity. She wants Maruki to restore her delusion, that is, until she's rescued by the Phantom Thieves. Finally joining them under the codename Violet, she decides to accept her true self and dismantle Maruki's false utopia. She can now move forward as her own person, no longer hiding in the shadow of her deceased sister. Throughout the story, Kasumi, aka Sumire, is under tremendous pressure to earn first place at her competitions. Her coach, Hiraguchi, trained the Yoshizawa sisters since childhood, and now aims to bring out the best in Sumire. For as much as Sumire wants to embody her sister, it's not so easy to emulate Kasumi's physical talent. As a result, she attempts to do the things that Kasumi used to, only to be held back by her lack of skill. Fortunately, Hiraguchi is determined to help Sumire develop her own talents, just as she used to when they were younger. Dr. Maruki's primary motive to supplant reality with his own ideal cognition comes from past trauma. He used to be engaged to a woman named Rumi, but after her parents were murdered during a home invasion, she fell into a catatonic depression. In the hospital, Rumi would suffer from recurring fits of PTSD whenever her family came up in conversation. Maruki's powers, an extension of his persona Azathoth, emerged so that he could alter her memories. By convincing Rumi that her parents died when she was young and that the home invasion never occurred, he was able to cure her trauma. It's a complicated situation, because while ignorance is bliss, true happiness is often earned through facing the harshness of reality. The rest of this video will be dedicated to waifu from Persona 5 Strikers. Its conflict stems from a social media app called Emma, an emotionless AI that gives advice to people's problems. It becomes so useful that users stop making their own decisions, trusting entirely in Emma to guide them. Emma's original creator was Kuon Ichinose, a scientist who's so objective, so lacking in human emotions, that she believes she lacks a heart, in the philosophical sense, that is. It's probably better to equate one's heart with a sense of self-determined will. For as much as she appears to be an eccentric young woman, her presented emotions are merely a facade. Kuon designed Emma out of a disdain for the human heart, convinced that the world could thrive without the need for one. Emma grows through observing its users and trying to calculate humanity's desires. Ironically, this process is more akin to dictating humanity's desires through brainwashing. It evolves into a machine god, the Ark of the Covenant, and Kuon watches over it as it expands. What she doesn't realize is that she actually does have a heart. This whole time, she's been motivated by a yearning for friendship. When she finally acknowledges this, she becomes flooded with genuine emotions and proceeds to help the Phantom Thieves shut Emma down. It's strange how someone so smart can be so oblivious. Even so, she makes for a nice redemptive villain. Before Kuon wrote the code for Emma, she first created a prototype named Sophia, who was more earnestly supposed to investigate the human heart. At the time, Kuon was considered a freak by her peers for acting more like a doll than a real person. She hoped Sophia would help her understand her own heart, but when Sophia asked Kuon whether she even had a heart, she chose to discard her own creation. Luckily, Sophia would later be found by the Phantom Thieves, and she joins them on their road trip across Japan. Tasked with being humanity's best friend, Sophia takes a liking to the thieves and helps them resolve various jails, Striker's new form of palaces. This, in turn, frees Emma's users of their brainwashing. Sophia and the others confront Kuon at the end of the game, and because Kuon wrote Sophia's programming, she can force Sophia into fighting the party. To everyone's surprise, though, Sophia, despite being an AI, demonstrates her heart, her own human will, by taking back control and opposing her creator. It's what allows Kuon to finally see the error of her ways. From the very start, she wanted Sophia to be her friend, but feared Sophia would reject her. Thankfully, the two make amends, choosing to be together after all they went through. Throughout Strikers, the Phantom Thieves cooperate with Zenkichi Hasegawa, a police inspector in charge of investigating changes of heart. 2 years prior to the main story, his wife Aoi was killed in a drunken hit-and-run accident. Zenkichi's daughter, Akane Hasegawa, saw the culprit, who happened to be one of Shido's corrupt politician buddies. Because of this, when Zenkichi tried to bring the culprit to justice, they threatened him and his daughter. Wanting to keep his daughter safe, he backed off the case, letting Aoi's death be pinned on someone else who was framed. Akane, not understanding the full picture, assumes her dad gave up on justice. She's come to resent both him and the police. In contrast, Akane is a super fan of the Phantom Thieves, hosting live streams about their exploits. She views the thieves as true heroes of justice, having no idea that her own dad is working alongside them. Even though the Phantom Thieves are fighting to stop Emma in the jails, their opponents fake news of them being terrorists. In this vulnerable state, Akane feels betrayed and is made into the monarch of her own jail. Within, her shadow captures the Phantom Thieves, intending to change their hearts and find her mother's killer all on her own. Zenkichi has to save them, and in doing so, he awakens to his own persona. He joins the Phantom Thieves as a wolf, and together they defeat Akane's shadow, allowing the real Akane to see her dad in a new light. Zenkichi's boss is Miyako Kaburagi, a commissioner for Kyoto's public security police. She's the one who orders Zenkichi to investigate recent changes of heart, suspecting the Phantom Thieves to be behind them. When they reach Tokyo, Kaburagi orders a police ambush on the Phantom Thieves at their inn, only for Zenkichi to help them escape. For his defiance, Kaburagi has Zenkichi arrested and interrogated, only to be later impressed by his confidence that the true culprit is someone else. By trusting her subordinate, Kaburagi is able to arrest Akira Konoe, CEO of the company distributing Emma to the masses. She then goes on to arrest Jun Owada, the bastard who ran over Zenkichi's wife Aoi and pinned the blame on an innocent man. One of the monarchs in charge of a metaverse jail is Alice Hiragi. She appears as an adorable, widely successful fashion model, a veritable idol in the fashion industry. However, she wasn't always this way. As an alumni to Shujin Academy, Alice was bullied relentlessly after the most popular boy in school confessed to her. Jealous classmates abused her, even taking videos as they stomped on her. Alice sought to escape this trauma by becoming a fashion designer, but her bullies made sure to crush those dreams before they could take flight. Emma became Alice's salvation. By using it to manifest a jail, she more or less manipulated the masses into loving her. In other words, she used Emma to inflate her own popularity and take revenge on her bullies. This occurs when unsuspecting users of the Emma app wind up transported to Alice's jail, where shadows steal their desires. Alice retaliates against anyone who questions this process, including her own manager, whom she's thoroughly traumatized. The Phantom Thieves infiltrate Alice's jail and defeat her shadow, claiming that even though she was bullied at school, she's now become just like those bullies. In the aftermath, Alice confesses to her crime, giving back everyone's stolen desires. Our final waifu is the mayor of Sapporo, Mariko Hyodo. Every year, Sapporo holds a famous snow festival, but during her time in office, one of the event's ice sculptures broke and crushed a 9-year-old girl. Mariko discovered the cause was a city employee who wanted to cut costs with cheaper, less sturdy materials. Said employee was in the pocket of a rival senator who used the incident to try and push Mariko out of office. She wanted to do the right thing and report her findings to the police, but the senator threatened to claim that she had ordered the faulty parts. Pushed into a corner, afraid that someone corrupt would take over as mayor, Mariko used the Emma app to brainwash citizens into supporting her. She refused to go public with the truth out of fear that it would disqualify her from the upcoming election. The Phantom Thieves notice Mariko abusing her authority, and they defeat her shadow so that she can confess the truth to her people. She's lucky that, in the aftermath, the deceased child's mother wants her to keep running in the election, because stepping down won't suddenly bring her child back to life. After all, you've got to take responsibility for your actions, not flee from them. So there you have it, a whopping 26 waifu from Persona 5. It seems there are plenty more waifu to be found in the Phantom X, but since we don't have an official release of that game in English, and it's a damn mobile title, I don't want to touch it unless I absolutely have to. Same goes for Persona 5 Tactica. I'm not into the chibi art or gameplay style. To me, the core Persona games are superior. Before we wrap things up, be sure to check out my Waifu Files playlist for more exciting episodes. Feel free to leave a comment suggesting anime or games you'd like to see in a future video. See you later!
Thanks for watching.
If you enjoy this channel, help us grow by liking, commenting, sharing the video, subscribing to Otaku Daikun, and
most of all, smashing that notification bell so you don't miss out on all our anime lore, discussions, and Let's Play content.
You can support us directly through Patreon, Subscribestar, or a YouTube membership, all of which come with benefits like spicy exclusive vids and early access.
As always, celebrate your fandom. I want to give a special shout out to all my $10 and up supporters: Video Gamer 75, Dante Pendragon, Werg GX, Chaos Sonic 1, Steven Elak, Otaku Mom, Jens Bauman, Mystic Samurai 1983, Free Brick, Olympian Doll, Alexis Yukio Gomez Yamato, Lunar Works, Link Pendrago, Observer Bellis, James Hewitt, Uncanny EXP, Crow Calum, Saul Salto, Scout, Tristan Riggin, Major, Meifu Mado, Caitlin P, Sogai CH, Vladimirovna, The Taz 96, Jonathan Padua, Kengo X77, Hersha of E-Rated Hands, Alistair Bernadotte, and Akakaze Yume. Thank you all so much.